A lot has gone on this last month. So yeah, welcome everybody to the September 2023 Hangout. We are going to talk about everything that happened in Frontend Masters. I've got a big list since it's been a very busy month. And then we'll get into some industry updates, stuff that's happened in front end and beyond. We won't get into the super recent drama with the whole TypeScript and bun, but I can give my initial thoughts and maybe we can dig into that a little bit more. With Frontend Masters, obviously we have this exploration sale that we just launched. So frontendmasters.com/sale. We're giving a discount on yearly subscriptions, which we never really do. I mean, it's just basically once a year for a week that we do this kind of thing. We're not the type of learning platform that constantly is out there drumming up, sale, ends in X amount of days or whatever, but this is our one time a year. And with that, we build a ton of stuff prior. So the last 3-4 months, we've been working really hard on some features and we're shipping them throughout the week and also doing bug fixes and stuff like that. So the first big thing, and I think the thing that people love the most when I talk to customers, and I've had a bunch of customer interviews where we just jump in and talk about Frontend Masters, what they like, ideas, etc. And the number one thing that keeps coming up again and again and again is the learning paths. People who take, especially the professional path, they absolutely love, Will Sentence and diving deep with Kyle Simpson. It's just getting deep under the hood of how JavaScript actually works. Just pays off so much. There are so many asynchronous behaviors and things that you have to think about with closure and scope and and it just helps to really nail that down. So no matter if you're using whatever type of framework, investing in those fundamentals in JavaScript just pays off over your entire career. So yeah, we combed through all 18 learning paths. For instance, one big adjustment was instead of focusing on a Webpack learning path, we made it a bit bigger to build tools and code quality so we can incorporate testing and stuff like that into that path. That was a big change. And then obviously all of the courses that we've released in the last year, we made sure that if something fits in one of those learning paths, that we have a proper place. And if it doesn't fit within the core, obviously we put it in the electives. So yeah, namely, obviously the React path is going to include Next.js now because they don't recommend only using kind of the single page app style of React, and they as in the React team, and they're really pushing kind of these React meta frameworks. So we obviously have Next at the bottom of the learning path as well as electives if you want to check out Remix or whatever. So stuff like that. And then in the professional learning path, we made some adjustments with some of our core JavaScript stuff. And yeah, I think the backend server path, basically every path had some updates as well as those editor notes along the side. So we try to include some of our reasoning of why we've included certain courses on each of the learning paths. So you can pull out the editor's notes and see why we recommend it. Next thing, obviously the really, really big feature that we're kind of pinning the sale around, being the exploration sale, is search. And people have been asking for a much better search for a long time. And it's been great that we've been able to take the last few months and really dive in and focus on it. So we built a search based on AWS OpenSearch, and it ingests all of our content. So everything from the courses, learning paths, blog posts, etc., just workshops, teachers, etc., etc. So everything in our library is indexed in the OpenSearch. And then we also have the ability for, if you're logged in, you can search your own notes. Anything that we add in the future, it'll all show up there. So we can both do unauthenticated search, which obviously if two people search the same query, it's going to be cached on CloudFront, and so it'll be extremely fast because we do some kind of smart caching around common queries or things that people search. We cache those, and then also if you're authenticated, then you get all of your own data, like your notes. So that is accessible throughout the entire website. That little search icon on the top of the website, you can Control K to open up the search if you want to with keyboards and that kind of thing. And also, if you're inside a course and you're searching within the course, you'll actually be able to jump around in the course. And you can actually open up a lesson and see every time that keyword is mentioned and click to that specific mention of the keyword. So it's pretty, I don't know. I think it's probably the most powerful search that I've ever seen on like any website or any learning website. And really it's I don't know, if you think about maybe modern architecture, modern front-end architecture, when you think about like all the libraries you would need to pull off something like this, like I think with our vanilla approach, we were able to pull off this entire search feature that works site-wide. It also works, within the player, which the video player itself is a custom system, and now this player is also a custom system that works inside of it, and Tandem works with it, and it's built in like somewhere around 1,000 lines of code. There's a little bit more templating code, so maybe a couple hundred lines of templating code, since all the search stuff is rendered client side, but it's just like really, really compact and lightweight and works everywhere and doesn't slow down the site. And it's so much better than some of these other, I don't know, when I look at doc sites and, you pull up some third-party search library, I don't know, it's always a bit clunky. But yeah, anyways, I'm excited about our search, and I should focus on just the positives of our search because I quite like it. So people have been saying really good things on Twitter and in the Discord, so it's been great. Next, we've released a ton of new courses in the last month. I think we're like prepping for the next big recording season, so the production team has been just like working extra hard, like cranking out all of these courses. But yeah, we released web app performance with Maximiliano and Go fundamentals, which, like I said, are Go basics of Go, which I said, frontendmasters.com and all the systems behind it are written in Go. So it's cool to get some Go content out. And then the new, Next.js courses. Next.js had a big refactor where they went from like page-based routing to app routing, and so we did a complete revamp of all of our Next content. And also we did one with Scott Moss where he integrated ChatGPT API, so you can do like sentiment analysis on text and like how you would integrate that with a full stack app. And then we did the building a Slack chatbot, and then Astro. And of course, Astro had like a big release cycle recently, and we launched alongside of that. So it was really cool to have a course like it's kind of a little bit part of that hype cycle of Astro. And I use Astro personally. I use it on markrubansky.com. It's a pretty like straightforward way to build content-based websites. I think they're trying to make it so it works as a solution for building apps and that kind of thing, but I think most people know it as like a content-based platform, so building blogs and building content-based websites and that kind of thing. Then of course they were hyping up the new Vue transition API that landed in Chrome stable. So essentially that I shouldn't say just, it's kind of it's a big deal to the web in that you can get this single page app kind of client side routing feeling, but it's not the same. It's just pulling HTML, putting it inside the current document, like inside of, say like you're swapping out the content or whatever, and then you can transition between, the fully loaded state and your current state. And so you can get like that single page smooth transitions between two pages. And yeah, the last thing I would have to say about that is I did a talk on jQuery mobile, I think like 12 years ago, And they essentially had this exact feature, which was the ability to, when you click a link, it grabs the inner HTML of the body and puts it into, and you can like mark up, exactly what part of the markup you want to replace inside that page and transition. So it's something that people have been doing for a very long time, but now it's built into the web platform. So it's really, really cool. And I think frontendmasters.com has actually built, we use server-side rendering and full page. It's a multi-page application. So the fact that we could enhance some of those navigations to have like smooth transitions between pages, that'd be a pretty cool thing to add. So that's cool that it's in the web platform. Now, there's a question here, curious if any .NET courses are in the works. Yeah, I mean, there's a huge .NET community in Minneapolis where we're located, so we've always wanted to do .NET. Similarly, like we use Go on frontendmasters.com, we finally have a Go course. So as far as the .NET, like C# and .NET, we absolutely want to do it. The question is, who's the best teacher to work with? So we're kind of doing some of that early planning and due diligence now. So hopefully in 2024 we can tackle some C# and .NET content. Yeah. Well, we also recorded 3 episodes of our podcast. So those will be releasing in the next 3 days is the plan. So the first episode is Brian Holt. The second episode is Steve Kinney, and the third episode is with Jen Kramer. And they were really fun. We had like a multi-camera shoot in the studio, and I kind of asked them some random warm-up questions, then we get into a bit about their career and then their teaching career and then what they're up to today. So that's kind of the format of the podcast. The first 3 ended up being around an hour each, and the video aspect and it being shot in 4K and like having that nice studio and stuff like that, it's a good vibe. It's very fun, and we'll also be interviewing like Mishko, the creator of Angular.js, and then Angular, and then Quick. So Mishko will be here to teach how the JavaScript VM works next month. So I'll be interviewing Mishko. So if any of you have any questions you'd like to ask him, or you'd like me to ask him on the podcast, feel free to send them my way. MK Slug, what's up on Twitch? Hey. Anything on microcontrollers? This is fun. So the last 3 workshops we recorded were actually Scratch for Kids, which was really, really fun. We all there's 4 adults with 4 kids in the room, and I actually was able to participate with my son, and we built a bunch of games throughout the day with Steve Kinney, instructing it. So that's going to be a really fun course. And then it was super fun. It was a super, super fun day of building games with my kid. And then so hopefully like parents will be able to use that to get their kids into coding and that kind of thing, give them some material to teach their kids. And then on the microcontroller thing, we just did like Arduino and hardware.js. So basically, coding in Arduino, he was wiring different sensors with the breadboard and that kind of thing. And I'm assuming that's what you're talking about, but I don't know a whole lot about that space, but it was really, really fun to watch Steve Kinney do different like lights, and then he did an LCD screen, and he did some other sensors. And we just used the default like Arduino package that you can buy off Amazon or whatever, and it comes with a bunch of sensors and utilities and things. And so we just try to keep it like as vanilla as possible. I think he does use the Johnny 5 library, but yeah, it was pretty awesome. And we also had like a camera above Steve's head, like onto the actual platform where he was working on the breadboard and that kind of thing. So, and then I don't know, it was a very, very fun workshop that we did with Steve. And then the other one was Electron. So a lot of people have been asking for an update on Electron, since Electron basically changed their entire security model, and like none of the old Electron code works in the latest version of Electron. So we had to do like a complete revamp, which was a little bit annoying, and the code honestly looked a little bit more difficult to write, but I get that, security is important and all that kind of stuff. So we'll have an updated Electron course, which will be great. And I know people have been asking about Tori or whatever, which is like the new potential like JavaScript platform for desktop, and we're just keeping an eye on it. I think Steve decided to build his latest app on Electron, and that's the most widely used platform, so that's why we did an update there. And then also we recorded a project-based course with Jen Kramer, so it's a series of projects that you actually build with CSS. So it'll be interesting to see if the community has different ways of solving these challenges. So Jen will, she recorded how she would do it. It'll be cool to see if, people from the community do things different ways with CSS variables or even Tailwind or whatever, to see like how, releasing a project-based course kind of goes out, works with the community. I know I'd love to do some JavaScript projects as well. That'd be really, really fun. So yeah, recorded a lot of cool workshops, did the podcasts, revamp of the learning paths, release of search. That's like a ton of stuff. So a lot going on over here with Frontend Masters. But that is all I have for updates for Frontend Masters. And got the rocket emoji going on in Discord. I like it. The industry updates, we'll get into like a few of these. Like I said, like the recent stuff, like Bun just got released, which was cool. It's a brand new runtime built on WebKit's JavaScript engine. It's supposed to be super fast and smooth out some of the rough edges with new module imports and that kind of thing. So we'll see how that develops. People have already been asking if we're doing a course on Bun, and the answer is no. Like we need to see some adoption for some of this technology before we're going to start teaching it. Oh, what's up, Barrett on Twitch? Thanks for joining. Barrett just said, just grabbed my year subscription from the sale. Thanks for the great deal. Yeah, awesome. I hope you get a ton of value from the courses and have a great year learning with us. So awesome that you're able to take advantage of the deal. But yeah, as far as like the whole removing TypeScript thing, I think my general philosophy is like keep TypeScript as simple as possible. And if you're keeping it as simple as possible, then it's pretty straightforward to write. It's pretty straightforward to read. It's, it adds some additional documentation to your code. I'm in general a fan of TypeScript, but I think where it gets to be difficult is when somebody loves TypeScript on the team and they want to like write complicated types, and I think then you're starting to cement in your code with complicated types that become difficult for the team to maintain, difficult for the team to like understand or modify. So it's great to love TypeScript, but if you love it too much and you're going too crazy with your types, then I think it makes it more difficult to work together as a team. I don't know. I think keep things as simple as possible is my only thoughts there, and then you kind of avoid a lot of the perils of TypeScript. The next thing I'd say is the CSS survey results came out, and the one thing that I felt like was interesting when I looked at especially the awards, they have awards at the end, and I think Open Props was the one that won the new upcoming project award or something like that. I can't remember exactly. And I thought that was cool because Open Props is a set of properties similar-ish to Tailwind in that like it's a set of utilities, but these utilities are in the form of CSS properties. So they don't require any sort of build step. You could potentially just grab the only the ones that you need for the project and use them. I think it's a really cool project, and if anything, you can look at the source and see some ideas for good properties that you might want to use and incorporate in your project. So yeah, take a look at OpenProps. Rifles on Twitch says, I think OpenProps also has some cool presets to find. Yeah, I agree. It's a really cool project. Definitely worth checking out. Then HTMX got into the GitHub accelerator. Obviously, Primogen has been beating the drum of HTMX, and I think overall I'm excited that it's another alternative to, well, not just that it's an alternative, but it's an alternative to like the status quo, and the fact that something like that is gaining steam, where it's primarily declarative programming, but it's declarative programming without like a giant like component model. You have data attributes in this they're like custom attributes, so like HX dash or whatever, which I've been writing a lot of vanilla JavaScript over the years, and that's essentially how I do things. I make my own data dash, and I use data because you get native JavaScript features regarding data set when you use the data attributes, but I generally use data attributes for writing declarative APIs. So for instance, on frontendmasters.com, our learning path widgets, how they like spin up and spin down to your current percentage. All that is it's the an SVG object that's marked up with data-progress equals the percentage, and that is the declarative API. So I get that someone said less than $30 a month to have Primogen teach you is a bargain. I agree. Primogen's an excellent example of he has excellent courses on the platform, and he's going to be teaching us blazingly fast JavaScript, HTMX, and another algorithms course, the last algorithms course you'll want instead of need. So yeah, he'll be definitely teaching more throughout the year, and he's got a lot of great courses already. So glad you think so. It's great. And then so that's my view on HTMX. Is it's a way to write essentially declarative programming with a set of kind of attributes that you can kind of mix and match together, and keep most of the state on the server, and just interact with what you need to on the client with these declarative attributes. Of course, like declarative programming always has limitations, so I'm curious where the limitations are with HTMX. Like I haven't built a large application myself, so I can't tell you exactly where the lines are, but I think with any sort of declarative programming approach, whether it's components in React or web components, or the data attributes that I like to use, or these HX attributes, there's always you're providing an API to your consumer, right? And there's always got to be an escape hatch, because behind declarative code is an imperative always, right? Like that's what makes the thing work, is the imperative code. And so what are the lines where you have to drop back into the imperative code? How easy or difficult is that? And if it's easy to drop into the imperative code, or the declarative set gives you enough to work with to build entire applications, great. But I just haven't seen it where you can build entire applications doing everything you need with declarative attributes. So anyways, that's probably a lot longer opinion on HTMX than I should give it, because I haven't built a big app with it. But I think from my perspective, it's great. It's great to have like an alternative in the ecosystem. Yeah, and I mentioned Bun with smoothing out some of Node's issues, having TypeScript out of the box. That's cool. And then the last thing that I found out there in the wild is this website called noclip.website. So somehow they were able to get all of the models of different video games, like really popular video games, like models of the landscapes. So it's kind of, they call it like a video game museum, and it's built on 3JS. And like I said, I don't know how they extracted all this data from these video games, but it's a 3JS website. And so you can just go to noclip.website and then browse like some of your favorite games, like locations, and it's pretty awesome. Someone asked, do we have an estimate on when Firefox and Safari will implement the view transition API? I have no idea. Unfortunately, I would have to ask somebody who's more close. Like Adam Argyle would be a great person to ping on Twitter because he's really involved with the standards communities. I think that's probably where I would go, honestly, tweet at him. But yeah, it would be great to see Firefox and Safari implement that API because, like I said, it's just something we've done for years. I had that presentation on jQuery Mobile 11 years ago doing that exact thing, which is just, swapping out HTML without having to reload the entire shell. And then someone asked, more importantly, when Firefox will implement the has selector. I agree with you. Has is great. There's so many cool things you can do with it. So yeah, one can only hope, but poor Firefox these days, huh? Chrome is, obviously Google's been investing a ton into Chromium, and then Apple has hired a bunch of engineers to invest a ton into WebKit, and then Firefox, is obviously, I think it's important to have a completely different, browser engine, but with the pace that WebKit and Chromium under the hood are implementing these features, I kind of feel bad for them as they're trying to catch up to companies with billions and billions of resources. So, but I think that's it. We went through all the updates on Frontend Masters and some of the things going on in the industry. I think, of course, check out frontendmasters.com/sale. Several people in the chat mentioned that they actually joined through that promotion that we've got going on. So I hope, like I said, I hope it's going to be an awesome year for all of you, and you'll learn a ton from the courses. And feel free to ping us on any of the socials or support at frontendmasters.com if you have any questions. And thanks for everybody for joining the Hangout. I'll see you later, and I'll try to post this on YouTube as quick as I can. So, all right, peace.